You know that moment when someone cuts you off in traffic and suddenly your heart's pounding, your jaw's clenched, and you're imagining an entire confrontation that'll never happen? Yeah, that's the thing about anger. It doesn't ask permission. It just shows up, takes the wheel, and suddenly we're passengers in our own bodies. Here's what nobody tells you about anger. It's not the enemy. I know that sounds wrong, especially in Christian circles where we've been taught to smile through everything. But anger itself? It's actually morally neutral. It's just information. Your body's alarm system going off, telling you something feels wrong or unjust. The question isn't whether you'll feel angry. You're human. You will. The real question is, what happens next? Because there's a Grand Canyon-sized difference between feeling anger and being controlled by it. Paul understood this when he wrote, "Be angry and do not sin." Notice he didn't say, "Never be angry." He said, "Be angry. Just don't let it drive the bus." Think about Jesus for a second. The guy who flipped tables in the temple. That wasn't a gentle correction, right? That was righteous anger at injustice. But here's the key. His anger had a target, a purpose, and boundaries. It wasn't about ego or revenge. It was about protecting what mattered. Now contrast that with most of our anger. Be honest. How often is our anger really about justice? And how much is it about our pride getting bruised? Someone disrespected us. Someone didn't meet our expectations. Someone made us look bad. That's where things get messy. Gary Chapman, in his book, Anger: Taming a Powerful Emotion, talks about how anger becomes destructive when we use it to punish rather than to problem solve. And man, isn't that the truth? We've all been there. We don't just want resolution. We want the other person to hurt like we hurt. But here's what happens when we let anger take over. We say things we can't unsay. We damage relationships that took years to build. We become exactly what we claim to hate. And the worst part? That anger we're holding on to? It's not hurting them. It's poisoning us. James puts it perfectly. Human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Because when we're angry, we're usually not thinking about righteousness. We're thinking about being right. And those are two very different things. So what do? How do we handle this emotion that feels so overwhelming? First, pause. Just pause. I know it sounds simple, but Proverbs tells us, "Fools give full vent to their rage, but the wise bring calm in the end." That space between feeling and reacting, that's where wisdom lives. Take a breath. Take 10 breaths. Walk away if you need to. Second, get curious about your anger. What's underneath it? Fear, hurt, exhaustion. Usually anger is the bodyguard for more vulnerable emotions. And when you can identify what you're actually feeling, you can address the real issue instead of just exploding. Third, remember who you're representing. You carry the name of Christ. That doesn't mean you become a doormat. It means your anger gets filtered through love, through grace, through the knowledge that you've been forgiven for way more than whatever just ticked you off. And finally, deal with it quickly. Ephesians says, "Don't let the sun go down on your anger." Because anger that sits turns into bitterness. And bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Look, I get it. Some of you are dealing with anger that runs deep. Trauma, betrayal, injustice that's real and valid. And if that's you, please hear me. Getting help isn't weakness. Talking to a counselor, a pastor, someone who can walk with you through that's wisdom, that's strength. Because the goal isn't to never feel anger. The goal is to stop letting anger control your story. Here's the beautiful thing about surrendering our anger to God. He can do something with it. He can transform that energy into passion for justice, into courage to stand up for what's right, into the strength to set healthy boundaries. But we've got to give it to Him first. So here's my challenge for you today. The next time anger shows up, and it will, don't stuff it down. Don't explode. Just pause, bring it to God, and let Him show you what to do with it. If this resonated with you, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Let's keep growing together, and drop a comment below. What's one thing that triggers your anger most, and how are you learning to handle it differently? I'll be reading every response. Grace and peace to you.